You are still wearing that.
I am still wearing this. I'm going to take it off now because it's probably hurting my head anyway.
Tara took off her antlers. I lost my Christmas hat when I went to go to the bathroom. So
Yes, because we're recording this right around Thanksgiving, but we recorded our Christmas episode, so time is like all over the place.
time is of the essence.
It is. So, in that vein, we want to do something more timely because we're always like behind because we plan so far ahead. So, for this one, we want to talk about something that just came out. And so it won't be that old by the time this comes out.
Okay, let's do it.
So, the Carman family murders.
Ridiculousness.
Right? So, for those who don't know, the way it starts out is basically this woman and his mother were out at sea.
This woman and his mother.
No.
This woman and his mother were out at sea.
This man and his mother.
This man and his mother
went out
on a fishing trip.
A fishing trip, which I don't know why they always leave in the middle of the night. It's kind of strange, but
because the best fishing is like first thing in the morning.
So yeah, so they were out on a fishing trip.
Says the person who's literally never been fishing.
I've been fishing. True, it is very, very early, but out near where like sort of Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. So like that area of water where Long Island, Block Island, sort of, it's not way out in the ocean, but it's still ocean. And then their family realized they hadn't heard from them. They were supposed to be back and a whole search ensues. And then 7 days later or 8 days later, dude shows up on a life raft looking pretty good and gets, picked up by a freighter and rescued. And they never find the boat or the mother. And then it dives into his history. If you want to tell us a little bit about his past.
So first they go through the family history and they start off with the matriarch of the family, which is his maternal grandfather. And basically this man...
the patriarch.
Sorry, the patriarch. But I said the maternal. That's why I got it messed up. Either way. The maternal patriarch.
Right.
Because technically the patriarch would be his father. Anyway, semantics. His mom's dad. Basically, they go into how he essentially built this billion-dollar business out of nowhere, had all of this money, and so his 4 daughters get quite a lot of money while he's still alive. They're getting something like $2,500 a day, like some ridiculousness.
I think it was like $25,000 a month, I think is what I remember.
Yeah, some crazy amount of money. Plus they have a trust. Basically this guy's got so much money, he doesn't know what to do with it. So he's just giving it to his adult grown children who have their own families and everything like that. And then also caring for his grandchildren, taking care of everyone. And then lo and behold, he's in his 80s and he gets murdered in his home, gets like shot in the head while he's in bed. And so then they're doing this whole investigation and it's kind of disjointed the way they tell it, but they say, grandpa got killed, he got murdered. Oh, maybe it was some shady business dealings. Maybe it was this, maybe it was that.
Right, because he worked in construction, which is like a mob, and he's Greek, but, who knows, Greeks,
There's
Italians,
Greek mafia. There's mafia
know.
For all cultures.
Yep.
Mafia is equal opportunity. And so they start looking into things, and then they come to find out that he has somewhat of an abusive relationship with his daughters, which the whole family kind of blows it off as like culturally accepted.
It's just normal that we push and slap people. It
doesn't sound normal. It just sounds like the whole family's used to the shenanigans. So for them, it's normal, but it doesn't sound like it is normative for most families.
Right.
So essentially they come to find out that the boy's mother was the one of the 3 sisters who really kind of pushed back and wouldn't let the grandfather do things. And then she was very protective of her son, who we then come to find out was diagnosed with autism when he was 3.
Right.
Now, he does come across as very high functioning, intelligent, well-spoken, but still on the spectrum nonetheless. And so then the one sister, or the aunt, I guess technically, she like right away is like, he killed his grandpa.
Right.
Which I'm like, with what proof do you have?
Right.
Lady?
Where did that come from? Especially at that point. He was, I think, about 19 when that happened.
18 or 19, yeah.
Yeah.
And what struck me about the documentary is that aunt is so cold.
Yeah.
And I was talking with my mom about it because I do have a cousin who is on the spectrum. And if God forbid he did anything to hurt anyone, yes, we would want him, to follow the letter of the law and, try to make amends for whatever he's done.
Right.
But we wouldn't like cut him off as part of the family.
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of in between where it's like you still love your loved one, but you don't love what they did.
Right.
And she's just like, yeah, he's not part of the family anymore. We don't care about him.
Right.
Until at the very end when she's sobbing about him, but I'm not going to skip ahead
Yeah,
to that
that's a
yet.
little weird.
So basically, they are kind of either accusing the boy or his mother of killing the father because of this contentious relationship that they had. They're never able to prove anything, but the police say that he was weird in the questioning. Was he weird in the questioning? Yes. Was he weird in the questioning about the grandfather in a way that made me suspect him of murder? No. He was weird in the way that folks on the spectrum can be weird.
He came very across in that very typical way that in his
very matter of fact.
Exactly. Not showing emotion. But yeah,
although he did make that one comment about, he got his head blown off when no one had told him how he died.
Right.
But that doesn't mean he did.
That doesn't mean they didn't, because remember, one of the answers, somebody found him. So they could have said it and
where he could have overheard someone saying it. The other thing too is like if you hear someone's murdered,
you kind of think
they're gonna
or stabbed, or like you think those major things.
It wasn't as big of a leap as they made it seem.
Right.
And then so there's that whole thing. Basically, no one ever gets accused of the grandfather's murder. So then they're moving on with their lives. Now the daughters are getting this money. And then in turn, their children or family members are also being very well taken care of. And they're essentially saying that like the grandson had no motive to kill the grandfather because he was essentially getting more money while the grandfather was alive than he would when he was dead.
Right. Yeah, because he was paying for his apartment. I think he was just giving him money left and right.
He bought him a horse. I think actually the mom bought him the horse. Either way, they're all rolling in money. And then we come to find out that the son at some point was having some sort of mental health crisis that does not sound directly related to autism, but it can be. But definitely sounded like a little bit of a psychotic break, possibly.
They didn't go into too much detail, right?
A little bit. They said that he wasn't eating anymore. He was acting very strangely. He was paranoid to leave the house.
Right.
So it sounds like some sort of break at some point. And then they wanted to send him to like one of those like scared straight camps, which didn't make any sense to me.
Does not sound like the right place, especially for somebody who's on the spectrum.
Exactly.
It doesn't sound like the right place for pretty much anybody, but that sounded so wrong.
Well, and it sounds like he really only was there for a very brief time, and then he came back and then went to the mental hospital.
Yeah.
So he was inpatient for quite some time, which I will say, they're not going to hold you inpatient
unless
if there's not something wrong. I don't care if you're self-pay or not. They're not keeping a bed for you if there's nothing wrong. So something was clearly happening with him. And I would assume since he had the diagnosis at a young age, it was something separate from the autism. Maybe he was a teenager. Maybe he got into some drugs and something sparked something off. There's a lot of possibilities.
Right.
Either way, when he was in the hospital, that was when he wrote the weird letter to the priest. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And this part, because I had it playing in the background, as I do many things, but this one, literally, I was writing,
your tracks,
dropped my pen, and I was like, wait, what?
Yes.
Yes. So basically, he says that his mother wanted him to be a nonverbal autistic child, and he did not live up to that level of disability, and so his mother would never be happy with him.
Right.
Now, as someone who works with folks in the field, I will say I think there are some families who they do want that, because if they know that their child isn't going to live up to this, if they think that their child isn't going to live up to this life that they've predicted for them, then they want to be a caretaker and they always want to be needed.
Right.
So I could see some grain of truth to it. We don't actually know any of that stuff, what was happening, if it was part of his mental break that was causing this alleged comments, but I found it really intriguing because I've definitely seen things like that where I think of a child of any sort of special needs, sometimes the parent is used to doing everything for them. And when they become a little bit more independent, there's some hurt feelings.
Right.
They've spent so much time and energy caring for
investing
their child.
In that. Exactly.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong either way. I'm just saying it makes sense. It can happen. Yeah, it can happen. And maybe there is some grain of truth to it. But what we do know is that at some point, the mother decided that she wasn't leaving her home to the son. If he wasn't going to come into the home and he wasn't going to associate with her, then he can't have her house.
Right.
But she did make it clear that he would still be taken care of financially, and like she wasn't taking anything away from him. She just wasn't giving him something else.
Right. He was living in the camper in the driveway.
In the driveway,
yeah.
Yeah. Which also, that feels a little mental health, not neurodivergent.
Right. Yeah.
Either way. Um, and then, so I was a little confused about this because they made it seem in the beginning that this fishing trip tradition was something they'd done often. But then as we get into the details, it sounds like they'd only gone like a handful of times to go fishing,
Yeah,
and that the
I
mom
don't.
didn't really like fishing
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah, and that she only did it
to
because
connect with him.
right, something to do with him,
But
which
it doesn't really sound like he
fine.
enjoyed fishing either. So I'm like, well, are we really picking the right thing?
And
But
like it was his boat too. He owned
yes.
the boat as a 20 something or whatever he was at this
Well, the
point.
grandfather probably bought it for
I'm
him, or somebody bought
sure.
it for him. Yeah.
No, I know. It's pretty amazing though.
And then there was something about that else that I was going to say. Either way, they go out on this fishing trip. And then once they realize, hey, mom disappeared, something happens, they start going back and looking at the footage. And he was acting super sus. Like before
Hmm.
the trip, he went and bought bait that he never took.
Right. And he showed up very late. He couldn't account
He
for where he
changed
was in
he changed the
time.
route at the last minute about where they were
Yep.
going to go and what they were going to do. And I don't remember, but I don't think at any point he contested that he had that rift with his mother. I don't remember
No,
him saying like, no, that didn't happen.
no. He was, I mean, when you see them questioning him in, I guess that's in actual court, right? Where they're questioning him at
Yes.
some point.
Well, both. There's
And
interrogation and then court. Yeah.
but where he's actually like saying objections, even though he
I
has his
know.
own like legal counsel, he's like objection, blah blah blah. Like he knew
Yes.
what he was doing. Like
Yeah.
he's
He's nobody's
highly
fool.
intelligent,
Yeah.
highly intelligent.
And then even when they would ask him questions that he could have easily said, I don't want to answer that, or yes or
Hmm.
no, he was kind of trying to twist the question, which was not working in his favor. I
Hmm.
forget what it was, but basically the one lawyer had asked him a question that was basically like two questions smushed into one.
Yes,
And he used a particular
compound.
objection.
Yeah, he
Yes.
said compound question.
But then immediately what he says after that was like really weird and bizarre and had nothing to do with the question that was asked.
Yeah,
And I was
there
just like,
was,
dude, what are you doing?
but he spoke very specifically. He was very careful about
He was.
how he said everything. It was interesting.
But
Almost that he wasn't lying because he was holding back, right? Because he was
yes, but to play devil's advocate, someone of that level of intelligence who is on the spectrum and has difficulty with social skills and who ostensibly seems like he's been in a lot of therapies and training throughout his life has learned that questions and people can be tricky. And so let
mhm,
me think things through and answer in very specific ways so that I don't get confused, that I don't get mixed up.
right.
So when I was watching it, yes, it was sus, but also I'm like, that's good social skills training, honestly.
I mean, yeah, yeah. So then they brought all those experts in who essentially said that it was impossible for him to be in that life raft for
For as long
7
as he claimed.
days because he just jumped right out, swam all the way to the boat, and climbed up the ladder. He didn't look weak in any way. The life raft immediately just sunk as soon as he got off of it, which was really weird. So they didn't know because he said there was a certain amount of food and water and things that were on that life raft. So they don't know how
Which,
much was left.
but I will agree with that one guy who said that it was some sort of expert, but he said that he himself was on the spectrum. And he said that people on the spectrum will do that extensive planning before doing new things, like going on a trip. So that part I believe
I
about
didn't, yeah, but it
having
was
X amount of food on the
right. But
boat
it
and
was,
everything.
they couldn't see how much food was left.
Yeah, the evidence was a little sketch.
Because it was gone. And they also said that the amount of where he was found was essentially impossible from where they say the boat was because of drift.
Yeah, it was like 100 miles off course or
Of
something.
yeah,
It was
where
crazy.
he would have drifted if the boat sunk where he said it sunk.
Yeah.
So they
And then they also said the
theorized
way that he said that the boat sunk wasn't like,
feasible. It just didn't make
yeah.
sense. So, I mean, they had a decent amount. They brought in that one expert on his side, but he was like the expert for everything. He's like, I'm the expert in this, I'm the expert in that. I'll say whatever you want me to say.
I mean, that dude was on the spectrum. He very well could be the expert on multiple things.
Yeah. So, in the end, they were, I guess, going through. I don't remember where
They
they
were
were in the
2 days
trial
before the trial
process.
for his murder,
Yeah.
for his mother's murder. And I was caught by surprise by this. I did not
Right.
expect it to happen. He committed suicide in his jail cell.
Yeah.
However, they said that there were no signs that he was suicidal,
Right.
and that he had left a note. And even the note was, and I don't know if you saw this because there's there was like some article that said 5 things they didn't talk about in the documentary.
Okay.
And this was on that list. But they said that the note that he left had absolutely nothing to do with suicide. And it was actually talking about additional things to use in his defense in the upcoming trial. So he's planning ahead.
Yeah. But
that being said, that doesn't mean that a lot of times when people make attempts at suicide, it is impulsive. Right. And then unfortunately, it's just lethal impulsivity.
Right. And I felt bad for his father. He was interviewed throughout. And no matter what.
And he lost everyone. He lost the grandfather who took care of him. He lost his wife. And now he lost his son.
Yeah. No, and he seemed like a really good guy, at least from what I could tell. And it just seemed like he was, he really cared no matter what. He believed in his son the whole way. And whether he was guilty or not guilty, he was there.
And he kind of said that. He's like, he's still my son regardless of what happened. He's like, I don't think he killed his mother, but regardless, he's my child and I'm going to stand by his side.
Yeah. So in the end, the suicide kind of was nail in the coffin for me. I think.
It was, but I think he probably could have got off on a trial.
I mean, he was smart, but his lawyer seemed like not that.
He was smarter than his lawyer. He should have been not that anyone should represent themselves, but he should have represented himself.
Mm-hmm. To me, he felt smarter than his lawyer, or at least more professional in the way he presented himself.
I feel like the lawyer was probably trying to play the pity card of, oh, this poor boy has autism. Because wasn't the lawyer the one who said he had this heart condition and he was still going to defend him?
Yes.
I think he was trying to play the pity card for him, which like, you don't need to. Like, just because someone has a diagnosis doesn't mean that they're deficient in any way.
Right. Exactly. I know he knew right from wrong and was, like I said, highly intelligent. So that his diagnosis has nothing to do with what happened.
And that's why I really don't like documentaries like that, even though I thought it was a great documentary, is because I think it's just our American society. We are so quick to blame a diagnosis on someone's actions when 99% of the time, someone who has a diagnosis is more likely to hurt themselves than to hurt someone else.
Right.
And that's just fact.
Right. Absolutely. But I do think because the police couldn't read him well, it did.
But that one police officer clearly didn't know a thing about autism and was like turning everything around on him. And I'm like, that dude should not have been involved in the case.
But I think it almost helped him in the long run because they couldn't read him.
Yeah.
Whereas other people that are mortels, they couldn't get a feel on him. So it did put that doubt in. And both in the grandfather, I had a lot of doubt that he did anything. But then by the end with the mother, I was like, I think he did it. I still don't know his motive though, because the money, he was still getting money.
Well, and that was what the prosecution kept saying, like, well, it was all for money. It was all for money. It was like, he has $1 bajillion. And it's not like this dude was out spending.
No.
Like, he bought a house, but he was fixing it up himself.
Right.
Like, he lived in a trailer. Like, even if it was money motivated, he wasn't using the millions of dollars he had. So what did he need more money for?
Yeah, that the motive is a big question. But
I will also say we are two assumedly neurotypical minds looking at the situation, and maybe from a neurodivergent mind, there's other reasons why.
Could be. Yeah.
I also think too, one thing they showed a lot of, but no one spoke about, is just how very pragmatic he was. He was like, well, I did this because of this. Mm-hmm. There was always an answer for everything. Mm-hmm. And in day-to-day life, that's good. You want people to justify their actions, but that's not what you want in a murder trial.
Right.
Because then it makes you look bad.
Right. I don't know. It's interesting. I suggest you guys look out and...
Oh, but like I was referring to before, then at the end, the aunt is crying at the loss of him. I was like, you wrote that man off, and now you're going to cry that he's dead?
The loss of the child he was. I'm like...
You didn't seem to care about the child he was when he was going through some shit.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't trust her. I didn't like her at all.
I didn't like her either. I didn't trust her. The uncle, there was like an uncle, right?
Or like a cousin or something. I liked him. He seemed very even.
He seemed very like just
neutral.
Tell him it like it is.
And the father, you felt bad for.
So sweet. Yeah.
I mean, he was a little different himself, but he seemed very sweet. And I think I just liked that he'd been through so much and he was still gonna tell the story.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't need to be part of that.
No, he didn't.
But he still wanted to tell the story of what happened. I'm assuming to still try to defend his son, even though he's gone.
Yeah. No, it was an interesting documentary, and I figure you definitely have a lot to say. But I think in the end, his diagnosis doesn't make the crime or break the crime. But I think it's just how people interpreted it.
And I think it probably didn't make him as sympathetic to people. Like, I think if he had a jury trial, I don't think many people would have sympathized with him, and that's not fair.
Right. because
Again, it's not a jury of his peers.
True. That is true.
Which I will talk about in future episodes.
All right. So let's close this one out and we'll get ready to record another last call. Cheers.
Cheers.
Little dancing.
Woohoo. Bye.